A member of the House Intelligence Committee, Democratic Congressman André Carson of Indiana. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's get to a couple of the deadlines. One of the deadlines today was for the White House to inform your committee whether or not there are tapes of the conversations that the president had with James Comey, the fired FBI director. Has that deadline been met? Have you received official notification, not the president's tweet yesterday, but notification from the White House about those tapes?
We're still waiting. I think what's more problematic is the kind of intimidation that's taking place with a sitting U.S. president. I think it's a form of bullying. I think it's embarrassing to our country, and I think it jeopardizes our national security ultimately.
So you haven't received because yesterday Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on your committee, was here, and he told me that the tweet isn't good enough. That was a legal tweet, if you will, that didn't exactly answer the question about tapes. So you have not received that yet.
We're still waiting
need a
for
letter.
a memoranda, and we'll go from there.
What about the memorandum, the memoranda that Comey says he prepared about his conversations with the president? The deadline for your committee to receive those memorandum, that was also today.
It was also today, but you know, I think what's taking place is that President Trump has always acted in a way that's kind of off the handle. He's improvisational, and I think you have to be more disciplined than he's been. I'm worried about who are his handlers, who's allowing him to do these kinds of reckless things that not only disrupt his legacy, it jeopardizes the morale of our country. And I think if you look at the employees in the federal government right now, they're worried, they're concerned. Folks in the intelligence community are concerned because this president is out of control.
Well, it sounds so far, at least, and now it's after 5 p.m. here on the East Coast. It's the end of the business day. It sounds like that deadline you imposed on the memoranda, as well as the tapes, the certification of the existence of tapes or non-existence, that hasn't been met.
It's very telling. It says a lot. It says a lot. I mean, you can't tweet your way through this presidency. You have to deal with facts. You have to allow the people that you appointed to protect you and to serve our country, allow them to do their jobs. Someone has to take his cell phone and work with him on being disciplined and becoming presidential.
The Comey memoranda, Comey said that he didn't have those memoranda anymore. He handed them over to the FBI. So yesterday when I spoke to Congressman Schiff, he didn't want to be precise in saying how they're going to get these memoranda. Do you know?
I don't.
You're just waiting to get, because those memorandum, especially if there are no audio tapes of the conversations, could be very significant as part of an overall investigation into allegations of obstruction or witness tampering, intimidation along those lines.
His bluff has been called, Wolf.
Whose bluff?
The President Trump's.
So explain what you mean by that.
I think that he obviously tried to intimidate Mr. Comey. It did not work. It has not worked. He's tried to intimidate the media. He's tried to imitate the intel community, and his bluff has been called. I think we're looking at the emperor without clothes, and unfortunately, historians will not be kind to this presidency.
Well, is that witness tampering? Is that intimidation? Is that obstruction? How do you see it?
I'm not a legal expert, but it sure looks like it.
So you're moving forward with at least the investigation on that. Do you assume the special counsel, Robert Mueller, is looking into that as well?
I can't say what Director or Mr. Mueller will do. I know that on the House Intel Committee and the Senate Intel Committee, we have our job to do. And I think his function is quite different. He'll be starting from scratch, essentially. But I think it needs a multi-pronged approach to honestly unearth what's taking place with this Trump administration, from Russia to campaign misappropriations, to all these things that we're under scrutiny right now.
So as far as filing formal charges, criminal charges against the president, that's questionable whether that even can be done legally. The only thing really that can be done is for the House of Representatives to take up impeachment procedures, if you believe that. Is that at all within the works down the road?
While I understand the spirit, I think impeachment talks are premature right now. I think the investigation has to take its course, and we'll go from there.
We'll see what happens. You've seen this bombshell report in the Washington Post now that President Obama was informed 3 months before the November election that Putin personally ordered the interference in the U.S. presidential election to hurt Hillary Clinton's campaign and to help Donald Trump's campaign. What's your reaction? Did you know about all of that in advance?
What I will say is that I'm not surprised, and the American people should not be surprised. Vladimir Putin, former KGB, and the Russian government have tried to compromise our leaders. They've tried to blackmail our leaders. They've tried to infiltrate our cyber infrastructure for years, arguably decades. And I think what has to take place is that the intelligence community has to be given the resources and the support it needs to do its function at preventing future attacks and infiltration.
Because yesterday, President Trump, he was tweeting, it's all a big Democratic scam. He used in one tweet, another tweet, he said it's all a big Dem hoax. It sounds like he doesn't take these allegations of Russian meddling in the elections all that seriously.
Well, why would he? I mean, he benefited from it. So, of course, he's going to tweet things that are act as distractions. I mean, President Trump has lost most of his credibility at this point. I think what needs to happen is that we need to allow Mr. Mueller and the Intel committees and other committees of jurisdiction to do their job so we can unearth necessary truths so we can move forward.
A former Obama administration official in the Washington Post article is quoted as saying this: "It is the hardest thing about my entire time in government to defend. I feel like we sort of choked." He's referring to the lack of reaction from President Obama and his advisors immediately to take action against the Russians once they confirmed that Putin personally authorized the hacking and the intervention in the election. You agree that the Obama administration should have taken more decisive action, retaliatory action against the Russians?
Hindsight is always 20/20. I think what we have to focus on now is moving forward and making sure these mistakes don't happen again.
So you're not ready to criticize the administration, even with hindsight, criticize the administration, saying, you know what, especially looking back in July, August, September, they should have taken more direct action.
I think the Obama administration was more preemptive then in terms of protecting our country from cyber attacks or other attacks than the current Trump administration is.
Well, why do you say that? Because the Russians clearly hacked a lot of sensitive information during the time of the Obama administration.
Well, mistakes were made. Mistakes have been made with administrations before President Obama's administration. I think what is clear is that we have a president who is too cozy, questionably cozy with Vladimir Putin. We have a president who minimizes the efforts of the intelligence community. We also have a president who minimizes and trivializes all that has been done before him, and he wants to unearth not only Obamacare, but he wants to unearth all the great work that has been done by the State Department and the IC.
But very quickly, are you suggesting that what foreign entities, including the Russians, are doing now, as far as intervening, hacking, is worse than was done during the Obama administration?
I'm not suggesting anything, Wolf. What I am saying is that the method in which President Obama has attempted to undermine President Trump, has undermined President Obama, I think is unacceptable and unpresidential. And I think it goes against all that is great about this country. For someone who claims to love this country so much, why is he so protective of Vladimir Putin and the Russian government?
He doesn't criticize them, as we all know. All right, stand by, Congressman. There's more developments unfolding as we speak. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Breaking news, President Trump once again criticizing the special counsel Robert Mueller, calling his friendship with the fired FBI director James Comey bothersome and suggesting his future is up in the air. But the White House press secretary says the president has no intention of firing Mueller. We're back with the Democratic Congressman André Carson of Indiana, member of the House Intelligence Committee. There's a report in Time magazine that says thousands of voter records were stolen from state and local election databases last year. Time says it's unclear if Russian hackers were responsible, but a lot of those stolen data included the last four digits of voters in social security numbers, driver's licenses, very sensitive information. Time is also saying that congressional investigators are looking right now to see if that stolen data was shared with the Trump campaign. Is that something your committee, the House Intelligence Committee, is looking at as well?
I can't comment on it at this time, but I'm sure in the very near future you'll hear more about it coming from the committee.
It's a worrisome development if it's true, clearly.
It's very worrisome. I think for those folks who argued for keeping paper ballots and paper files and microfilm, I think they have a point. But we live in such a digitalized society that it's very difficult to do, because I think in terms of keeping huge amounts of data, and we're talking about cloud storage, we also present ourselves with greater vulnerabilities.
Certainly do. President Trump complained in an interview with Fox News this morning about Mueller, the special counsel, especially his relationship, his friendship with the fired FBI director, James Comey. And he said Mueller has hired, quote, all Hillary Clinton supporters. Is Mueller safe on the job right now? What do you think?
Mueller's a pro. He's respected in the Justice Department. I think he's very objective when it comes to investigations. I think he's the right man for the job, and I think to get to the bottom of what we need to get to the bottom of. I think he's the man to do it, and I think in the next few months, hopefully, we will unearth some necessary truths to get us past this fiasco.
Let's talk a little bit about politics. So you're the first vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. So why did the Congressional Black Caucus decline an invitation from the president to have a second meeting at the White House?
Well, as my good friend Congressman Cedric Richmond noted, that
he's the chairman.
He's the chairman. That the White House failed to address the concerns in our original proposal to deal with criminal justice reform, education, investments in infrastructure, and bolstering minority businesses. They have yet to address those issues to us clearly. So we're not interested in a photo op. We're interested in tangible results that improve the condition of Americans, particularly the African American community.
Should Nancy Pelosi stay as the Democratic leader in the House?
I think Nancy Pelosi is a phenomenal leader. I think that she's a visionary leader. I think that she's been very inclusive. I think that the argument of changing the dynamic of how we do things within the Democratic caucus is very valid. But what we don't want to do is push aside a great leader like Nancy Pelosi and bring in a younger, refined, and more polished good old boys club. That's the concern.
So you want her to stay, at least for now?
I think she's a great leader. I mean, I think that she is a giant. I think that she has brought in younger people. I think she's brought in minorities. I think she's been more inclusive of the LGBT community. She's brought in Muslims. There are only two of us, me and Keith Ellison. And I think she's kind of visionary. I don't know that another leader would have been that bold in meeting the request that I had for several years to be on the Intel committee. She was bold enough to do it. I'm suspicious that another leader wouldn't have done it. I mean, we don't need another leader who goes to Ramadan iftars or seders, says shalom, says assalamu alaikum, goes to the black church, and then once they stay in office, they vote against the interests of the very people they claim to protect. Nancy Pelosi has gone above and beyond the job, and I think she should stay. However, some of the critiques coming from the dissenting crowd need to be listened to. They need to be heard. They should be respected.
Congressman André Carson, thanks for joining us.
What an honor. Thank you, Wolf.
Appreciate it very much.